You are listening to Housekeepers Chat by the United States Department of Agriculture from 1926. Disclaimer: this is read from a historic archive document. Do not assume content reflects current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This broadcast was aired 1st of December 1926.
Aunt Sammy's chat today centers around the very important part of the Christmas dinner, a rich and tasty fruit cake. The recipe has been approved by the U.S. Bureau of Home Economics and will be included in the radio cookbook. If you have not received a copy of the book, better send for it, and tell Aunt Sammy what you think of the recipes. For all of you modern-day listeners out there on YouTube, you can find a copy of this cookbook in the description below.
Here it is, the 1st of December, and only 17 broadcasting days till Christmas. In that case, I'd better get my fruitcake and mincemeat recipes broadcast, so you can begin your holiday cooking early. I visited the recipe lady yesterday morning. She gave me her choicest recipes for fruitcake and mincemeat. Do you want to know what else she gave me? A sample of coffee cake, cranberry muffin, a best ever cookie just out of the oven, and several pieces of her delicious candied grapefruit. Whenever I visit the recipe lady, I wish that all of you could see her, and talk to her and listen to her advice on cooking. I wish you could taste her coffee cake and her cranberry muffins too. She has promised to write the recipes for you. Perhaps I can get them this week. The first thing for today is the Christmas fruitcake. Not an elaborate, expensive one, but a moderate-sized, delicious cake. Just reading the recipe makes me want to try it. There are 15 ingredients, 16 counting a cup of water for the oven. The fruitcake is a very important part of the Christmas dinner, and I hope no one rings the doorbell or calls you on the telephone while I'm talking. One of my listeners says she always locks the doors and muffles the telephone when I begin to talk. That is a true compliment. Now for the fruitcake. Pencils ready? 15 ingredients as follows: 1 pound of raisins, 1/4 pound of citron, ½ pound of butter, 1 pound of currants, 4 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, ½ cup of cider, ½ cup of tart jelly, ½ cup sour cream, ½ teaspoon soda, ½ teaspoon salt, 1 cup molasses, 5 eggs, 1 tablespoon cinnamon, ½ teaspoon nutmeg. Let me run through this again because you must have 15 ingredients: 1 pound of raisins, 1/4 pound of citron, ½ pound of butter, 1 pound of currants, 4 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, ½ cup of cider, ½ cup of tart jelly, ½ cup sour cream, the ½ teaspoon soda, ½ teaspoon salt, 1 cup molasses, 5 eggs, 1 tablespoon cinnamon, ½ teaspoon nutmeg. And don't forget the cup of water, which is placed in the oven while the fruitcake is baking. Listen carefully now, and you won't need your pencils till I give you the warning. In the first place, be sure that all the fruit is thoroughly picked over, carefully washed, and dried. It takes some time to do it right, but it must be done correctly. I heard of a man who found a piece of grit in his fruitcake once, and he completely lost the Christmas spirit. To tell the truth, he has been a misanthrope ever since. The fruitcake recipe calls for a ½ cup of cider and also a ½ cup of some tart jelly such as blackberry or currant. If you have some jelly which is not firm enough to use on the table, it will do nicely for the fruitcake. Be sure the molasses has a good sweet flavor. Let's see, what other general advice did the recipe lady give me about this cake? Oh yes, she said the cake should be baked in a tube pan, an angel food pan, that is, which allows the heat to come up through the center. Bake the cake in a slow oven, 275 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, because it takes a long time to cook cakes which contain fruit. A low fire allows the heat to penetrate the cake mixture slowly and does not dry it out or burn the crust. Don't forget to have a cup of water in the oven during the cooking process. Seems to me I've mentioned that before. There should be a well-greased paper around the sides of the pan. because sometimes small particles of the fruit get next to the sides of the pan and stick and burn. Then the pretty brown crust is broken and spoiled. The recipe specialist says that if the recipe for this fruitcake is doubled, it should be baked in 2 pans. It is better to bake fruitcakes in medium-sized loaves, rather than in large loaves. If you like, add a cup of chopped nuts, pecans, blanched almonds, or English walnuts to the ingredients I have given you. Now you will need your pencils again for the method of baking the fruitcake. All set? First, prepare all the fruit before you mix it. Cut the citron into very small pieces. Cream the butter and sugar together. Separate the eggs and add the yolks after the butter and sugar are blended. Add the liquids, the cider, the jelly, the sour cream, and the molasses. Mix 1/2 of the flour, salt, soda, and spices. Mix the other half of the flour with the fruit. Add the dry ingredients, this gradually to the liquid ingredients, then the floured fruit, and last the whites of the eggs. Just a word about the fruit. If it is well covered with flour, it will be scattered through the cake instead of settling at the bottom. That's all for the fruitcake. It takes some time to prepare it and bake it properly, but what is Christmas without a fruitcake? Not Christmas at all. Questions and answers are next on the program. What vegetables are rich in vitamins? Writes a mother who is anxious to give her children just the right foods. Tomatoes are rich in all 3 vitamins A, B, and C. Tomatoes keep the C vitamin even when cooked or canned. That's why tomatoes are such a good all-the-year-round vegetable. Carrots are also a source of vitamins. In the winter, when carrots are older and have been stored a long time, they may lose some of vitamin C. They are still valuable, however, for their ash constituents, as well as for the A and B vitamins. Then there's spinach, which also contains iron and calcium, cabbage, which can be used all winter, string beans, peas, turnips, and lettuce. Did I tell you the latest news about lettuce? Winter lettuce should be very plentiful, judging by the heavy plantings of the crop, especially in Arizona and the Imperial Valley of California. That means we can have lettuce often in salads. Speaking of lettuce, the latest authorities on etiquette say it is quite correct to eat the lettuce, which is served with salad. It's just as well they do. Most of us would eat it anyway, for the sake of the vitamins which are so necessary for normal health and growth. Question number 3. Can grapefruit be canned successfully? Grapefruit has been canned in recent years. The canned sections, free of rag and seeds, are rapidly becoming popular. This method of marketing grapefruit takes care of a large part of the fruit which couldn't be shipped and which was formerly wasted. It also makes grapefruit available at all times of the year. This question reminds me of a young married couple who went to housekeeping several months ago. When the young husband was asked how they were getting along, he said, "Oh, just absolutely fine. I'm certainly crazy about this home cooking." Did you ever eat grapefruit and oranges sliced together? The next question is from a high school boy who wants to know what makes popcorn pop and whether it must be wet to pop well. Popcorn pops when it explodes. Popping results from the almost simultaneous explosion of the many starch grains in the kernel. When the corn is heated, the pressure from the expanding moisture within the starch grains increases. This pressure finally becomes greater than the strength of the substance in which the starch grains are embedded, and presto, they pop. Popcorn need not be wet in order to pop. Only a little moisture is needed. Corn that is either too wet or too dry will not pop well. Popcorn that is stored in an unheated room or in a shed where it will be protected from rain usually contains about the right amount of moisture. I have here a request for directions for making good cider vinegar. Instead of broadcasting the answer, which would take considerable time, I am sending a copy of Farmer's Bulletin number 1224, entitled Making Vinegar in the Home and on the Farm. Copies may be secured upon request. For those in our modern-day YouTube audience, you can find a link to this bulletin in the comments below. One more question. What foods afford good exercise for the teeth? Foods that require hard chewing help make good tea. Do you remember the jingle, "An apple at night makes the dentist bill light"? Raw apples, toast, hard crackers, hard bread, raw cabbage salad, lettuce, celery, and any crisp foods help to develop the tea. Children should be taught to eat the crusts of bread and rolls as well as the soft inner part. They should be cautioned also to chew their food thoroughly, not to swallow it whole. The recipe lady told me something yesterday that I want to pass on to you. Sometime, when you are having an afternoon tea party and want to serve baking powder biscuits, cut the biscuit dough in very small rounds. Moisten the top of one biscuit with a little rich milk and place a second biscuit on top of it. When these dainty tea biscuits are baked, they are an attractive shape, easy to open, and spread with butter. I have a suggestion to make before we leave today. I wish that you would tell me what recipes you want broadcast during January. January seems a long way off now, but it will soon roll around. If you will let me know what recipes you'd like to have in January, I can be working on them this month. Here's a chance for every listener to suggest something for the radio cookbook, which, as I think I have mentioned, is sent free to every housewife who listens in regularly to radio station. The second set of recipes is almost ready for mailing. I predict it will be even more popular than the first. Tomorrow I will give you a mincemeat recipe.
This broadcast was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.